This is ancient Egypt. The Israelites were enslaved by the Egyptian pharaoh for many years. They had to work hard to build the pyramids in harsh conditions. Pharaoh grew fearful that the Israelites were becoming too numerous and might rise against him.
Throw every newborn Hebrew boy into the Nile.
During this dark time, a Hebrew woman named Jochebed gave birth to a baby boy.
We must keep him quiet. Pharaoh's soldiers are everywhere.
For 3 months, they hid the baby, praying for his safety. When they could hide him no longer, Jochebed wove a basket of reeds and sealed it with tar to keep it watertight.
May God protect you, my son.
The basket floated down the Nile, guided by God's hand. Moses' sister Miriam watched over him from a distance. Pharaoh's daughter came to the river to bathe and discovered the basket.
Look, this is a Hebrew child. What an adorable baby.
Shall I find a Hebrew woman to nurse the child for you?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Do it for me.
Pharaoh's daughter agreed, and Miriam brought Jochebed to care for her own son. The child grew, and Jochebed returned him to Pharaoh's daughter. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's palace, surrounded by wealth and power. But Moses never forgot his people. One day he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave. Moses took action and struck down the Egyptian. Fearing Pharaoh's wrath, Moses fled into the wilderness. In the land of Midian, Moses found refuge. Moses became a shepherd, tending flocks in the quiet hills of Midian. Though far from Egypt, God was preparing Moses for a great purpose. The sun set over Midian, and Moses' journey as a shepherd began. Little did Moses know his greatest journey was still to come.
Moses had once lived in Egypt, but now he was far from that life, in the quiet hills of Midian. He was just a shepherd watching over his flock. It was a quiet life, far from the noise and splendor of Egypt, but it was peaceful. On this day, however, something extraordinary was waiting for Moses, something that would change his life forever.
Well, little one, off on another adventure? Not so fast. Stay with the others.
As Moses reached the top of the hill, he noticed something unusual. Here, in front of him, was a bush ablaze with fire, yet no branches or leaves were burning away. It was as if the flames were alive, dancing over the bush without harming it.
What? What is this? A fire that doesn't burn. How can this be?
Moses had never seen anything like it. His heart pounded as he drew nearer, unable to look away from the strange, beautiful flames.
Moses? Moses!
Who is speaking to me?
Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for you are standing on holy ground.
Realizing he was standing in the presence of something holy, Moses trembled. He sensed that this was no ordinary fire. This was the voice of God, calling him by name.
I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
The voice was clear and filled with purpose. God was speaking to him, Moses, a simple shepherd in a faraway land. As he stood there, God shared his heart with Moses, revealing his deep love for his people.
Lord, why are you speaking to me?
I have seen the suffering of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries, and I have come to rescue them.
God spoke of his people, the Israelites, who were suffering as slaves under Pharaoh's rule. He had heard their cries, and now he had a plan to free them. But he needed Moses to help.
I am sending you, Moses, to Pharaoh. You will lead my people, the Israelites, out of slavery.
Me? But who am I to go to Pharaoh? I'm just a shepherd. I wouldn't know what to say.
Moses was shocked. He was just a shepherd, far from the mighty palaces of Egypt. How could he, of all people, face Pharaoh and lead an entire nation to freedom? God understood Moses' doubts and fears. To help him believe, God gave Moses a powerful sign.
Throw your staff on the ground.
Before Moses' eyes, the wooden staff he had carried for years became a living snake, twisting and moving on the ground. Moses jumped back in fright.
Oh, a snake!
Pick it up by the tail.
This was no ordinary staff anymore. God had shown Moses that with his power, anything was possible. God's miracles would be with him, even in Egypt.
Lord, I am afraid, but if you will be with me, I will go. I will do as you command.
Have courage, Moses. I will be with you every step of the way.
As the flames gently faded, Moses felt peace in his heart. God had spoken, and Moses knew he was no longer alone.
I am not alone. God is with me, and together we will set his people free.
With faith and courage, Moses took his first steps on a journey that would change history. He would face Pharaoh, and with God's help, he would lead his people to freedom.
The story begins in the grand palace of Pharaoh, where Moses and his brother Aaron stand before the mighty ruler of Egypt.
Pharaoh, the Lord, the God of Israel, says, "Let my people go."
Who is this God of yours? I do not know him, and I will not let Israel go.
Moses left Pharaoh's palace, but he knew that the Lord had prepared severe trials for the people of Egypt. And so, the first plague came upon Egypt. The waters of the Nile turned to blood. Next, frogs covered the land, invading every home, every palace.
This is nothing. My magicians can do the same.
Then came gnats, covering the land like dust. The fourth punishment was that a thick swarm of flies filled the land. The fifth plague, the cattle of Egypt fell sick and perished. The sixth plague, painful boils covered the people of Egypt. A storm of hail and fire rained down from the heavens. The eighth plague, swarms of locusts. Disgusting locusts devoured every green thing, leaving nothing behind. The ninth plague, darkness covered the land for 3 days.
I have doubts now. I don't want something worse to happen.
And so, the firstborn of Egypt perished. It was the last, the 10th Egyptian plague.
Okay, go, go, take your people. Leave Egypt. May your God have mercy on us.
At last, the Israelites prepared to leave Egypt. The journey had just begun. From that time on, the Lord Lord established a feast for the Israelites called the Passover. Each year the Israelites were to eat a lamb with unleavened bread at this feast, remembering their deliverance. The people of Israel, after years of suffering, left Egypt at last. With Moses leading them, they walked toward the unknown, trusting in the Lord.
Will Pharaoh really let us go? What if he changes his mind?
Why did we let them go? Send my chariots! They will not escape!
Ride faster. We will capture them before they escape into the desert.
The Israelites had reached the shores of the Red Sea, but Pharaoh's army was closing in.
Moses, why did you bring us here? We will die in the desert.
Fear not, stand firm and see the salvation of the Lord.
With God's power, the sea began to part.
Look, the water is moving like a giant door.
Go, walk through the sea, for the Lord is with us.
The sea is standing still. Should we go in?
The sea crashed down upon Pharaoh's army.
No, the water, what's going on? No!
And so, the Israelites continued their journey through the desert, following God's guidance.
Moses, we have no food. Did you bring us here to starve?
Lord, provide for your people.
Look, Mama, food from heaven.
It was the manna of heaven. This is how the Lord feeds his people. When the people grew thirsty, the Lord provided water from a rock. After many days, the Israelites reached Mount Sinai, where God would give his law.
Moses, come up to me on the mountain.
And God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, laws for his people to follow.
These are the laws of the Lord. Live by them and be blessed.
And so, the Lord guided his people with miracles, laws, and love, leading them toward the promised land.